welcome to another episode of Salarywatchman. I'm with my brother Wen Wei. The Bok Choy Brothers are back once again. This time we are at a very traditional place, fantastic place for traditional Singapore breakfast. None other than the Keng coffee shop right here at Lorong 41 Geylang. At this place, of course, you can have traditional breakfast like wanton mee, bread, my favorite bread and eggs. Okay, you can never go wrong with a Singapore breakfast. I'm right now, won't we? Alright. We like old school makan places.
Yes.
We are on the hunt of great places like that. So let's go and find out more about this kind of place. Yeah.
Keep a lookout
Keep
for
a
the next
lookout
few
for more.
episodes.
Yeah.
I mean, this place also located in Geylang. Yeah, I think Geylang, as you all may know by itself, it comes with a lot of history. So this is also a good place to get your household appliances.
The typical Singapore things to do, You buy house, buy BTO, you buy HDB.
Get all the furnishings, all the the sinks, the lights.
One-stop area to get all your things done.
Yeah. But if you look at the background, it's really backpacked.
Yeah, as you can see, it's bustling right now, so apologize for all the background noise. Let's dig in to see how good it is. Let's go.
I would say the bread is pretty well toasted.
The thing about this place, right, is that it's unlike your usual, like the bigger brands these days, like Bread Talk and all that. The bread is not as super toasted, but it's the right consistency actually. If you think about it, it's the skinny bread, not too skinny but also not so thick. And one thing I love about this is the butter and the kaya. The kaya is awesome here.
And the butter, they give you like one big piece.
Yeah. They don't skim on the butter and they don't skim on the kaya as well. How about the eggs, man? The eggs looks plump and succulent.
Yeah, the only thing is I'm not very good at cracking egg, so you shall see how it goes.
Wow, damn good, man. How do you like the taste?
I would say that the kaya is nice. I mean, it's not too thick, just a nice amount. Yeah.
So good. So Wen Wei, I truly believe in progress in life in general, right? We always like to improve ourselves, but I'm a sucker for traditional stuff. Some things like better don't change, as they say, don't reinvent the wheel. Some things are good as it is. So like places like Tong Wah Seng right here, it's been around for 70 years.
Wow, that's long.
70 years.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
I didn't know that. Yeah.
It's older than us, right?
Yeah.
Talking about tradition, coming back to watches that we all love, right?
Yep.
A known brand that is always stuck to tradition is no other than Rolex. And Rolexes have always been, researching, and of course they improve their movements, they improve their design. But for Rolexes, usually when they land on something good, right, they usually stick with it, and they keep it consistent for years. Okay, so right here featured today is actually our father's watch. So Wen Wei's one is the 6694 Rolex Precision, also known as the Oysterdate. Mine is likewise, it's also an Oysterdate, but it is a 6646 version. The movements are the same. The caliber is 1225 for Wen Wei's one. Mine is also a 1225, or it could be a 1215. So as I mentioned, right, when Rolex made changes, they only make one change to the caliber, and they actually stuck to 1225 for a long time. And in terms of the 6694, there was only three previous bases: 6094, 6294, 6494, and then 6694. And yours, what you're having, 6694, came out in 1958, if I'm not wrong, around there, and it has stick consistently until the 1980s, okay? Yeah, so this watch that you're wearing here has been sold for 30 years unchanged. Yeah, so it just goes to show how Rolex has, always maintained good stuff. Yeah. So Wen Wei, what do you tell us a story about your watch?
Alright, so it's storytelling time again.
Yeah.
This is my dad's watch. He bought the watch from Hong Kong. So I knew he didn't go Hong Kong. So my aunt was in Hong Kong there. I think that was about 1980s era. That time he purchased Oysterdate. That was about, I think it cost about $6, probably about $800 to $1,000. My family was not very well to do. So my dad only wore the watches at important events like wedding, Chinese New Year, because he has only like, you know, one Rolex, so he cherishes it a lot. So always clean it, put it somewhere.
Yeah,
so you can see it's pretty well maintained.
If you take a look now, it's so well maintained.
Sometimes he will take the watch out and just take a look. So I always ask him, why did he buy a Rolex in the first place? Yeah, okay, at the point of time I was very young, so obviously I don't know what a Rolex is. So he was telling me that, I mean, all the while we wanted to own a prestigious watch lah, and then among all the brands, he chose Rolex lah. It also quite intriguing on why he get it in Hong Kong lah. Yeah, so he said that then the conversion rate was better, so he got it for Hong Kong then. And I'm like, oh, okay.
I guess something's going to change. We always compare overseas rates, right? Yeah. But it's a very heartwarming story, because as we mentioned in the last episode, something about milestones, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so I bet your father had a milestone at the time and he wanted something good. And the fact that he bought a Rolex, it just shows that, you know, our elders trusted brand until today it hasn't changed, you know. Yeah, and one thing I realized also, like last time it used to be very functional. Like your dad wanted something good, but he wanted to tell the time. It goes with the same of the range, right? In Rolexes, like the divers and all that. Diver we use for literal diving, and then the yacht master as well for sailing, and the GMT was then for pilots, right? Yeah. So same thing. This one, it was a true entry Rolex at that time, and it was affordable. It's because it has to do with your movement as well. This movement, right, is actually a mechanical wind. So it's unlike the usual automatics that the Rolex had, and Rolex knew it has to be that way, and they focused the Oysterdate to have the mechanical watch. It's quintessential at that time, because in the 70s, mechanical watches was the mainstay actually. It was like bread and butter, literally bread and butter. Mechanical winds are simple, easy to maintain, and it's proven, right? Till today, if you maintain your 6694, 6466 or any mechanical watch for that matter, it will still run like as if it's just bought brand new. Yeah. So unlike your father, I think my father didn't really love watches at that time, but he knew that watches were trending lah. Rolexes were picking up. So he was in a travel agency at that time. He was just a young guy going out to work, you know, experiencing work for the first time. So I guess one thing led to another. He found a friend that was selling watches, and he found this. He bought it at around $700 at that time. It was the 1970s. 70s plus, so around the same time as your dad. I tried asking for a resale price of this watch. He offered $1,500 straight away. And if you adjust for inflation, right, it's about the same. So it actually goes to show that Rolex does really retain its value. So coming back to my dad, he didn't really care about watches, and it was quite beat up lah. So in fact, he overwinded the thing. It was spoiled for the last 20 years, if I had wrong. And it's only recently that I went over to Golden Landmark, which I also reviewed. I got the crown and the stamp fixed for about $100 thing. As opposed to going to Rolex itself, I think they will charge you arm and leg. And it's working fine. It didn't need any lubrication, it didn't need anything. Right? The old man there, the uncle was like, oh yeah, I can work on, don't worry. This kind of thing can last for a long time. So it just goes to show that it really stands the test of time. That's why
Rolex are durable and long lasting.
You can't go wrong. You can't go wrong. And also today, if you want to have a starter Rolex, this range of watches are actually quite readily available. Chrono 24 has a lot. Carousel as well. So essentially the 6694 is 34mm. The 6646 is 30mm. 4 millimeters difference. In terms of price point, it's about 1,000 to 2,000 difference. Mine is 1,500 to 3,000. One waist is about 3,000 to 4,500. It's around there. So that's the current market. In this environment, right, Rolexes are skyrocketing, right, in terms of price. So this is the perfect entry Rolex. This range doesn't have any precious metals. It was only made in stainless steel. So it's one of the perfect mix. Low key, you know, a low profile Rolex, and it's stylish at the same time. What do you think?
I think it's, I mean, Oysterdate, it does what it does. It shows the calm and the thing without much other complications, which I think is pretty neat for entry-level watch. That it works pretty well for me. But it's just that sometimes when it's stopped, you need to wind up, and because it's Oysterdate and it's quite dated, right? It doesn't have the ability whereby you can tune either the date itself or the time
Oh
itself.
yeah, because this range there isn't a quick set.
Yeah.
So you need to go around and round and round until you get the correct date. So as you can see, my date I gave up already.
Yeah, so I
I just left it
I
as
a bit
it
more
is.
OCD lah. So
Yeah.
my date I need to fix it
It's a bit
today lah.
OCD,
If not
yeah.
I'll be quite disturbed for the whole of the day. Yeah.
For me, I just leave it as it is. As long as the time is right, I think I'm fine. This is to our dads, man.
Yeah, no
Dads watchers. Yeah. So thanks to one of our our viewers, the buzzword this day is the SOTC, which is state of the collection. Yeah. Since we're talking about vintage watches, about about old Rolexes, so also wanted to feature some other watch brands from the same era. Some are well-known brands, some are actually micro brands at that time. Okay, one thing about all these watches, they're all mechanical watches. So as you can see from left to right, this is the 33mm. Next is my HMP Janata, which is 36mm. Next is my Gilday Reglex, which is a French diver watch, 38mm. And lastly here is my 35mm Waltham. So one thing good about all this is that you don't need a battery lah. You just wind and you'll kick run by itself. You just run on itself. If you compare to the Rolex 6694, it's all relatively very small as compared to the Rolexes these days. You cannot do without 40mm nowadays. Yeah. Right? 40mm is
Like the bare minimum.
Yeah, the bare minimum now, right? Yeah. But back then it used to be smaller. People used to like smaller watches, and also about sizes. Wenwei's one is a man size. The one I'm wearing now is actually a mid size by right. Yeah, but in Singapore they call it a boy size. Boy size. Okay. Yeah, actually boy size is smaller lah, but it's known as boy size. Yeah. So I just wanted to feature all this and celebrate mechanical winding watches. I think we should bring back this love of mechanical winding watches because for me I find it a joy. Like the sound it makes, and the ticking sound that it goes on and on. It's just a symphonic array of clicking, which I love. So thank you so much for watching this very special episode about our mechanical watches, about Rolex's Precision Oysterdates. This is Wenwei, this is Ian, the Bok Choy Brothers. Signing off. Yeah. Till our next one. Take care and bye bye.
Bye bye.
Oh yes.
Sorry, the coffee too nice.
Okay,
Let's go. Adoy.
Alamak.
我们要拍照。先生，请你走路可以走
Yeah lah,
快一
please
点吗
excuse me.
Bro,
Okay, let's
do
go,
it.
let's go.
Da-da!